Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video we are going to discuss why Joseph Campbell thought that myths are so important. In his book The Hero with 1,000 Faces, Joseph Campbell wrote that it would not be too much to say that myth is the secret opening through which the inexhaustible energies of the cosmos pour into the human cultural manifestation. So this might sound a bit fake. Of course, you can notice that Joseph Campbell thought that myths are really important. But why did he actually think this is the case, and why is this still relevant today? So after reading a few books from Joseph Campbell and watching a lot of his videos, I hope I've been able to find the answer to why Joseph Campbell thought that myths are so important. And I will try to explain this clearly in this video. If you happen to understand Joseph Campbell's work in a different way, then please let me know in the comments as well. So in order to answer this question, we must first look at what myths actually are. And in his book, The Inner Reaches of Outer Space, Joseph Campbell described myths as productions of the human imagination. Their images, consequently, though derived from the material world and its supposed history, are, like dreams, revelations of the deepest hopes, desires and fears, potentialities and conflicts of the human will, which in turn is moved by the energies of the organs of the body, operating variously against each other and in concert. Every myth, that is to say, whether or not by intention, is psychologically symbolic. Its narratives and images are to be read, therefore, not literally but as metaphors. And as a result of this definition, Joseph Campbell argued that it is easy to label myths and mysteries as lies. However, myths are based on a different kind of truth. So not the literal truth, but more of a metaphorical truth. This truth can only be understood by the soul, and by rationally labeling myths as lies, we kind of deprive the soul and also the world in its entirety from a different level of meaning that is of equal importance to our existence. In relation to this, Joseph Campbell wrote that the only generally recognized correction as yet proposed has been the no less wrong-headed one of dismissing the metaphors as lies, thus scrapping the whole dictionary of the language of the soul by which mankind has been elevated to the interests beyond procreation, economics, and the greatest good of the greatest number. And although we are nowadays quite fast in disposing these myths and mysteries as false, Joseph Campbell argued that every individual is still a carrier of these mythological realms. In this sense, Joseph Campbell was influenced by Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious. So according to Carl Jung, every individual's unconscious is composed of several collective archetypes, which are present in every individual. I believe that Joseph Campbell made this theory a bit more accessible by indicating that these archetypes are related to myths. So these myths are present within the unconscious of every individual. Joseph Campbell indicated this by arguing that the unconscious is comprised of all sorts of mysterious forces. He wrote that the unconscious sends all sorts of vapors, odd beings, terrors and deluding images up into the mind, whether in dream, broad daylight or insanity. For the human kingdom, beneath the floor of the comparatively neat little dwelling that we call our consciousness, goes down into unsuspected elegant caves. Joseph Campbell indicated that these unconscious forces can be extremely dangerous in the sense that they can appear suddenly because of a certain smell or the sight of some object. These unexpected events, they might touch a certain magic spring, according to Joseph Campbell, and as a result of this magic spring, dangerous messengers can appear in the brain. And these are not only dangerous because they appear suddenly, they are also dangerous because they threaten the apparent secure world of the conscious mind. However, according to Joseph Campbell, even though they can be dangerous, they can also be of a major importance to us because they open our minds to the mystic world. Joseph Campbell wrote that they are fiendishly fascinating too, for they carry the keys that open the whole realm of the desired and feared adventure of the discovery of the self. As such, it can be argued that they might lead to the destruction of our secure world in which we are consciously residing, They might then, however, be used to completely recreate our world more fully, because our world will be based upon something which transcends our role in society. Therefore, Joseph Campbell wrote, "Destruction of the world that we have built and in which we live, and of ourselves within it, but then a wonderful reconstruction of the bolder, cleaner, more spacious and fully human life. That is the lure, the promise and terror of these disturbing night visitants from the mythological realms that we carry within. It is up to us to decide whether we pay attention to this other realm or not. However, if we do so, according to Joseph Campbell, an entirely different reality is presented. If the witness is prepared, there ensues a transfer of self-identification from the temporal, reflecting body to the sun-like, ev-eternal source, and one then knows oneself as consubstantial with what is of no time or place, but universal and beyond death, yet incarnate in all being, everywhere and forever, so that we may again read in the Upanishad, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art dead." In my previous video you may have seen that Carl Jung believed that if we do not pay enough attention to our unconscious, this can have some really dangerous effects. Joseph Campbell, however, focused more on the positive consequences of more attention being paid to the unconscious, mainly in the sense that it is a key to the mystic realm. So similarly to Carl Jung, Joseph Campbell saw symbolic ideas such as myths as a bridge between the conscious and unconscious realms. Furthermore, according to Joseph Campbell, the mythic realm is as much part of this world as the worldly realm with which we are so familiar. He wrote that the two kingdoms are actually one. The realm of the gods is a forgotten dimension of the world we know, and the exploration of that dimension, either willingly or unwillingly, is the whole sense of the deed of the hero. This exploration is heroic because in this other dimension, as I mentioned before, one's secure conscious world will be completely deconstructed. Joseph Campbell wrote that the values and distinctions that in normal life seem important disappear with the terrifying assimilation of the self into what formerly was only otherness. At the same time, Joseph Campbell argued that all true religious practices are directed to the discovery of these other mystic realms, and they do so in almost identical ways. The individual, through prolonged psychological disciplines, gives up completely all attachment to his personal limitations, idiosyncrasies, hopes and fears, no longer resists the self-annihilation that is prerequisite to rebirth in the realization of truth, and so becomes ripe at last for the great at-one-ment. His personal ambitions being totally dissolved, he no longer tries to live but willingly relaxes to whatever may come to pass in him. He becomes, that is to say, an anonymity. The law lives in him with his unreserved consent. Doing so becomes more and more difficult as our societies continue to progress. So instead of being more a part of this world or consciously living within this world, we are living more and more outside of it. Joseph Campbell argued that the problem of mankind today, therefore, is precisely the opposite to that of man in the comparatively stable periods of those great coordinating mythologies, which now are known as lies. Then all meaning was in the group, in the great anonymous forms, none in the self-expressive individual. Today no meaning is in the group, none in the world, all is in the individual. The shift of meaning, according to Joseph Campbell, is problematic because within the individual this meaning is largely unconscious, and the forces that were previously known to be compelling the world forward are now unknown. Joseph Campbell wrote, "One does not know toward one moves, one does not know by what one is propelled. The line of communication between the conscious and the unconscious zones of the human psyche have all been cut, and we have been split in two." Joseph Campbell indicated that this happens because traditional myths have been replaced by state religions, patriotism and work life. Joseph Campbell believed that it is necessary to reintroduce myths in such a mythless society. He wrote that such a monkey holiness is not what the functioning world requires. Rather, a transmutation of the whole social order is necessary so that through every detail and act of secular life, the vitalizing image of the universal God-man, who is actually immanent and effective in all of us, may be somehow made known to the consciousness. Joseph Campbell believed that such a new myth can be found within the individual. He wrote that not the animal world, not the plant world, not the miracle of the sphere, but man himself is now the crucial mystery. Man is that alien presence with whom the forces of egoism must come to terms, through whom the ego is to be crucified and resurrected, and in whose image society is to be reformed. So fundamentally, after analyzing the ideas of Joseph Campbell, we can conclude that myths serve an important role as a bridge to the unconscious. And although myths are not true in the usual way in which the term is used, they are true in a different way. They can have an important function as a metaphor, thereby illustrating a much deeper truth compared to what we are able to comprehend at first. We do, however, no longer believe in myths because for us to believe in something, it has to be scientifically true. And as a result of this development, we have lost an important bridge to our unconscious. And as I discussed in my previous video on Carl Jung, we must be careful not to neglect our unconscious world. And sadly, no replacement has been found for the role that myths used to play in this regard. And as Joseph Campbell indicated, religion, patriotism, or consumerism are not capable of filling this void. Joseph Campbell argued that we must look inward to fill this gap. Our own presence in this world is the greatest mystery at this moment, and it is up to the modern hero to solve this mystery and present his or her discoveries to the world, thereby saving society from its emptiness. It is not society that is to guide and save the creative hero, but precisely the reverse. And so every one of us shares the supreme ordeal, carries the cross of the Redeemer, not in the bright moments of his tribe's great victories, but in the silences of his personal despair. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've learned something from this video, and if you have any questions, then please let me know in the comments. In case you're interested in these topics as well, then please also subscribe to this YouTube channel. I will make a new video at least once a week. So thank you again, and I hope to see you in the next video.